Performance does not matter as much as you're told that it does, and I am dead serious. You know that project you're working on to overhaul your website speed? It could be a complete waste of money.
Monster! Monster! Monster!
Now, a few of you have boiling blood and are about this close to rage clicking the dislike button, or better than the dislike button, you can just simply post a comment down below saying that this video is uninformed. But before you do that, keep listening, as I have some very important thoughts about performance overall. I am here as an advocate for e-commerce managers. Performance optimization, unfortunately or fortunately, is a line of business for many e-commerce development agencies, and you might be just getting sold a bill of goods that you do not need. In this video, which just so happens to be episode 24 of the eCom Buzz, I will use the analogy of a window that you open and close to explain how to know if and when you should invest in performance optimization. The end result is understanding the business case behind performance optimization and the parameters to identify ROI. Don't forget, though, to subscribe to the eCom Buzz. Link is in the description below. We start by asking, why is performance optimization something that we tend to focus on? Well, a great way to answer that question is, what KPIs do we use on our website? Well, we have revenue, average order value, unique visitors, and there's a few others. Those, though, tell the story, the result of the customer experience. But performance is one of the few metrics that we can measure that directly impact the customer experience. It's measurable. And so we can sort of correlate this measurability to a better conversion rate. I guarantee you are no stranger to the commonly quoted statistics that are in abundance out there. Yes. For example, that Amazon study that said that for every 100 milliseconds of added page load time, it costs 1% in revenue. Caveat, that was done in 2006, almost 20 years ago. In technological years terms, that's like 100 years old or 150 years old. So saying it's 100% relevant today is literally like saying Ford's Model T engine is still useful today when people are driving and enjoying their electric vehicles. Now, more recently, Walmart found that for every second of improvement in page speed, conversions increased by 2%. Now, I also will take this with a grain of salt, as I never found the original source for this quote. It's listed on Cloudflare's website, but I can't find that talk that said exactly what they found. Now, most recently, Adobe with their Edge delivery services, and I actually have a video describing what is this product from Adobe, they said that they're seeing dramatic results with a 3% conversion rate and a 19% increase in search engine visits. These are good things as a result of this type of technology that Adobe is building. Now, getting the categorical statements out of the way that performance is equal to more revenue, we should be asking the question, is performance something that I should be concerned with? And this is the question that matters the most. First, if I may, if you want objective or as objective as possible assistance in answering this question, I'm here to help. You can send me an email, joseph@swiftotter.com, and I'll either connect you with members of our super smart team who understand performance really well, or I'll help you myself, and we will help identify this determination for you, a true business case, and to what extent does it make sense for performance optimization. But let's get back to whether or not we should be worried about performance. Google clarifies that performance is a piece or a part of the customer experience. In fact, John Mueller, a search engine advocate who works at Google and is very well known in the community, had this to say, and I quote, "Core Web Vitals are not giant factors in ranking. Core Web Vitals is Google's measurement of how fast your website is." Notice he used the word giant. It's not a giant factor. Well, that leaves a whole room for interpretation, right? I mean, maybe it's significant. Perhaps it's also small. But Mr. Mueller's following phrase is even more important. He says, having a website that provides a good experience for users is worthwhile, because if users are so annoyed that they don't want to come back, you are just wasting the first-time visitors to your website, regardless of where they are from. And that is where it really makes sense. Performance is one aspect of the entire customer experience. It is not everything, but it is easy to focus on because it is measurable. If you have an incredibly fast website that nobody can use, it doesn't do anybody any good. Or if you have a incredibly usable website that's slow as snails because of all the cool things you've done, that's also not going to win any points. There is a middle ground, but what we find is most successful is to err on the side of functionality with a slight cost being performance. Getting 100% performance scores is not the full name of the game. Remember how I talked about the analogy of a window that you can open and close? Let's consider how that fits in here. Site speed is very similar to this window in a wall. We have usually a distance between the floor and the bottom of the window. Then we have the opening that lets the beautiful summer morning sunlight come in. And then we have usually a space above that window that, I don't know, it's just dead space. It's just the wall again, right? Think about it this way. Trying to get through the wall below the window is going to be very difficult or painful if you get a head start trying to run through it. Maybe you're possible, but it's going to be painful. We lose customers in that lower area because they hate how slow our website is. It's like trying to bust your head through this wall. Maybe you'll get it done, but it's gonna hurt. Now, if our customers are happy, they're somewhere within this range of an open window, which is a good thing. Chances are maybe they're on the lower end of this window, but there's headroom to grow at the top. But what if we decide we're going to invest everything we have into that top area above the window? Like, it's going to be so amazingly fast. Well, we end up exceeding the top of that window and we have basically the wall there. As somebody who is a carpenter, I know that above that window is what's called a header, which is basically this big chunk of wood. Trying to bust through that could cause structural damage, and it's gonna cause structural damage to your head if you try to get through that. It's very expensive and very difficult. Probably not a good idea in the long run. So we have this window, literally a window, as our target. Now you're asking, how do we know if we've crossed that minimum threshold? Our customers aren't beating their heads against the wall because our website is so freaking slow. Well, we're above that threshold and they say, it's fine. I have two ways to identify this. Do not use either way separately from each other. Number one, ask your users in a user study. I recently published a video, link right here, as well as in the comments below, about our process for user studies. Your mind will be blown with the information that your customers give you. But one question to throw in there is, what do you think of our website's speed? I think you're going to find this unbelievably enlightening. And websites that you feel like are slow actually usually don't bother your customers as much as you think it will. So use that as one piece of the puzzle. And then in the second piece of the puzzle, two-piece puzzle, is the Google CrUX Report. I'm going to talk about how this factors into everything here in just a minute. So stay tuned as we work towards that. Point number one, the feedback from your customers. And point number two, the CrUX Report is going to tell you the picture of whether you are within your threshold of success. If you are in this window, congratulations. Good work. I am here to tell you there is no emergency, but there is room likely to bump this up and improve this. So that's where an investment can be made. The next question is, what is the upper limit in this window? I frequently tell our customers that the law of diminishing returns applies to these performance updates. Every inch or several centimeters we manage to jump higher than this threshold means more work and less return on that work. The window analogy is super handy because, again, there's this reasonable upper threshold. We try to bust through the wall above the window and it's either gonna really hurt or it's going to be expensive. You might think that the upper limit is 100% score in Google Lighthouse. And if you get that, and there are some ways to get that, I applaud that score. Getting there from The e-commerce of the 2010s, though, is difficult, but it is not impossible. We at SwiftOtter use several tools to identify current standings, look for room for improvement, and then determine what it takes to get from those current standings to our destination. This information then informs opportunities and the effort required to achieve them. One tool that I really like to use is the Lighthouse scoring calculator. And I'm going to give you a brief demo on how I do this. So there are several tools that are involved here, but let's take, for example, our website as a comparison. And I'll be completely transparent with you here. There is a performance issue that I am working to address. It's ongoing. To be honest, it's a little bit frustrating, and it's an example of getting close to that upper portion of the window. Is it nice to get this fixed? Yes, but does it make sense to get it fixed? Potentially not. So we're looking here at my screen. We have our homepage right here, and there is and this is the process that I suggest you take to help educate yourself on the opportunities available for your website for performance optimization. So here I'm going to click on the website, and I'm going to right-click, and I'm going to click Inspect, which pulls up this page. Now, if you want to get really geeky and look at the HTML, be my guest. But we're not looking to do any of that. Instead, I'm going to click over on this arrow here, and it might already be visible, and we're looking for the Lighthouse tab. I'm going to click Lighthouse. Now, one thing I forgot to say is you'll notice it says Incognito here. You can open up Incognito windows. On a Mac, it's Command-Shift-N, or go to the File menu, click New. I might even show up here. It says, New Incognito window. Feel free to click that, and that opens up a new window. The reason this is important is Incognito usually runs with less modules or extensions installed, and those do tend to affect website performance. So it's basically a clean slate, as well as no cookies, etc. So I'm here looking at this Lighthouse, and I could just click Analyze Page Load. It's going to take 20 seconds or so to work through this whole aspect of the website. You can see it's rendering and good stuff over here. Now we have the performance results as 82. To be honest, 82 is not bad. I would love it for our website to be at least in the 90s, if not 100. It really should be there, but okay, it isn't. And like I said, this is what we're working on fixing. And there's a whole bunch of geeky information here that you might find helpful or beneficial if you want to get down into the weeds. But we're not actually going to get into the weeds here. What we're instead going to do is take a look at the Lighthouse scoring calculator. Now, this is a super handy tool to project out what the value of these changes will be. So let's say we have our first contentful paint, and we see that as 1 second. So we can just match that here, convert seconds into milliseconds. So 1 second is 1,000 milliseconds, easy. We have our largest contentful paint, LCP, which is set to 4.4. So let's drop this down to 4, roughly here. Total blocking time, which is now 200 milliseconds, which is right here. Cumulative layout shift is 0.01, which matches, and then our speed index is 1 second. So overall, it's pretty good. Now, what we can see is in this chart right here, what is our area of opportunity? And that is the largest contentful paint. Quite easy to see that. We can drop this down, and we can technically see where we're going to be at. So it was originally stuck at 4.4, and yeah, there we go. We can see that it would add 10 to our overall score. So it basically pulls us from an 82 to a 92 right here. Now, there's some other things that we could work on. Maybe the total blocking time, drop that down. That's going to bring up the score just a little bit. But largest contentful paint is clearly the area with the biggest bang for the buck right here out of the gate. So we can see that we need to focus on this. Now, this is where we get into the technical details. We can filter this list here by FCP. Oops, no, it's actually the largest contentful paint. All these things are feels like the US military, way too many acronyms. So largest contentful paint, LCP, we have this is the area that might need some help, whether it's a JavaScript or etc. This is what needs some assistance. So now we have a goal we can shoot at. And this is not necessarily something that you need to dig into that deeply if you have an agency partner, something that we are really experienced in doing ourselves here at SwiftOtter. Either way, this gives you a starting point for where you want to target. If we can get LCP up a little ways or improve it. Now let's say if we can pull back to 2 seconds, we're at a 96, 97, somewhere in there. Cut that in half, which should be fairly doable. And right like that, we are now in the 90s, and that's a win. But again, the point I'm bringing up here is this shows you the opportunity for growth, the areas to focus on, and your tech team hopefully is capable enough to say, okay, here is the suggestions to get there. Now, the other tool that we use a lot here at SwiftOtter is this CrUX tool. And again, like this shows that we're working on this, and I'm lying to say that it's perfect. This is a demonstration of performance optimization. To be honest, if you were to plug a whole bunch of websites in there, in fact, there was a website I was looking at the other day, very, very well-known brand in the fitness industry. They literally had a score of 34 score. So to be honest, I consider our 82, 84 decent. I would love it to be in the hundreds, but again, like I've talked about, it's the law of diminishing returns. And to be honest, the plumber has leaks in his own house. I hate to say that, but it kind of is true. Being a completely transparent and authentic with you is always my goal. So here is this CrUX. So just do a Google search for Google CrUX, CrUX, and all you have to do is type in your website name. I'm typing in ours because I don't want to shine light on any other negative performance scores on other websites. But what you see here is a path, a history of how this has gone. I found that there was a change that I made to the website here recently, or a couple of months ago, which I think actually corresponds roughly in this spot right here, which actually caused some harm to these scores. And following this along through the course of time gives a point in time reference to see the changes that you're making. Unfortunate part is you can't necessarily take these numbers. So we have the LCP of 2500, the interaction to next paint of 171, and this cumulative layout shift of 0.11. These don't necessarily fully translate back here because we have the speed index and the total blocking time that you would need to add in here. But the benefit of this is what phones are reporting across hundreds or thousands of phones across the world. Like, this is not just my Google Lighthouse score that I ran right here just to show you what this is, a very much one sample size. Like, this is hundreds and maybe thousands of samples, what everybody is experiencing, which is very powerful. You can look at it on the desktop. You can dig into these metrics even a little bit more as well. But this is what you want to be keeping an eye on. If you see your numbers regressing, that is an opportunity, immediate opportunity for conversation to identify what is going on. So I hope you found this piece helpful, because this gives you the business side of the conversation to understand better how to architect the performance in a way that provides return on investment for you and also is beneficial to your customers. As we work to land this plane, let's look at how we approach performance optimization at SwiftOtter. First, if there are significant challenges in this performance department, you have to consider the longevity of your platform. If you're moving to a different e-commerce platform in the next year or two, there's no reason to invest significant sums of money into performance optimization on your current system. But if you're staying, I suggest you evaluate maybe the cheapest way to make the biggest impact. This could be a performance overhaul project where we evaluate the theme and the apps, and maybe even targeting an entirely new experience while also working to refine the user experience and make it as polished as possible. That can be a huge win. So for example, this could be in the ballpark of a new theme on Shopify or on Adobe Commerce to moving to Hoova or Adobe Optimizer. Or it could be on BigCommerce looking into Catalyst. This is a dramatic change. The challenge here is that you spend your entire project rebuilding the customer experience. And in that project, you will have to make some sacrifices for what you have already built in the past, usually to accommodate budget, unless somehow you're in the business where money literally grows on trees. The other route is an agile approach. And this works where there are some obvious performance misses, but the website we wouldn't say is in horrible condition. So what we would do then is set aside X amount each month and target, fruit example again, low-hanging fruit. Eventually though, we're going to move past this low-hanging fruit stage and we're going to have to make another decision. Is it worth continuing? This approach will not get you to the 100% Lighthouse score, but it's going to clean up the worst offenders and allow you to keep investing your budget on focusing on the whole customer experience. As somebody who is super technical, I would love to take the remainder of this video and to dive into the details of how to fix this, or perhaps how to evaluate a new theme. That's for another set of videos, as it varies by platform. And there's even a whole bunch of nuances just beyond that. Thus, this video is talking about the business case and how you can make that decision for yourself and your organization. The good news is, you have the tools to understand performance and how it impacts revenue and your business case. That said, stay tuned for some DIY performance audits that I'm going to show you in forthcoming videos as somebody with any technical ability can do. And don't forget to subscribe to the eCom Buzz newsletter, where you get reminded every other Thursday at noon about some new cool e-commerce trick. We'll see you next time.